Alright, hey, how you guys doing? So in the past few days, because it's the weekend, Cav Vs Archer came back, and I really wanted to test out all these new marches against other people and other marches, so me and a few friends got together, and we tested Achilles and Hector in many different scenarios and many different combos. So yeah, today is going to be a full review of every march we tested, and I'm not going to lie, some of the results here may shock you. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. Here we go. Alright, and now let's get into the actually interesting stuff, the reports, alright? So, after all that, we tested a ton of different things. You can see here we have a ton of reports to go over. And here's the one that probably intrigued me the most. Joan Arthur, which I widely regard as probably the best open field march for Cav. While it can be debated that Hugh Arthur is better, Hugh being a single target really debuffs the entire march, especially on open field. And we paired that against the new, quote-quote, meta Arthur Achilles march. And you can see here, Arthur Achilles won with, what is that? Basically a 150% ratio. On top of Arthur Achilles having better AoE and, I believe, more health. Yeah. Also, it had more health, more attack. Arthur Achilles, like I said in my last video, does just seem like a more broken version of Joan Arthur, which is true. And by the way, we did all of these tests here with nothing, like no gear, no armaments at all, so that's why, like, the attack, you're probably wondering, like, we had T5, of course, but we did it with no armaments and gear, keeping just the base formation on. You can see here, it was a clear victory for Arthur Achilles, baby. And now, these next two marches, of course, another victory for Arthur Achilles here against Quinn. Both these meta marches here, with YSG or with ZL, they both won. Like, heavy win here. Pretty much a 200% ratio on this one, and this one, I'm not even going to do the math, but around 200% on there as well. Overall, just like crazy. Now, this actually is a good thing in my opinion, because Cav going up against Archer, because it counters Archer, it should be able to win, right? So I think this is a good thing. Another thing here, we also did Arthur Achilles versus Meta Infantry. And you can see here that Arthur Achilles actually lost. Now, I looked into this a little further, and if you look at Achilles and his third ability right here, he actually doesn't use smite damage to deal more damage. And because of that, Infantry fully counters this Cav march. And to be honest, I think that is exactly how the game should be. Infantry should counter Cav naturally, and Cav, like seen up here, should naturally counter Archer. So it forms like this kind of triangle thing where every other thing counters another thing. So that just makes fights a lot more interesting, because in recent times it was almost like Archer countered everything. And I think that is a really, like, bad game design. No offense, Rise of Kingdoms, if you're watching this video. But to have one troop type able to counter everything else just because of what you chose at the start of the game, kind of ruins the fun for a lot of people. Now, of course, I did also test this with Joan Arthur, and it did also win, but you'll notice that it was way more close. Like, this was basically a 100% march here. As in, like, ratio, it was really tied here. I basically only got a tiny edge over my opponent and ended up winning, right? But still, you compare this one with a double ratio, and then this one, it really, like, it's really crazy how much of an upgrade Arthur Achilles is compared to Joan Arthur. Now, other interesting test runs that we did here was Achilles Philip versus Arthur Achilles, right? But I'm not gonna lie, I tested this more for fun than for an actual march idea, because I thought Philip, similar to Arthur, would have that kind of, you know, synergy with Achilles, but it did not. I mean, it wasn't bad, I guess, but it performed pretty much on level, if not a little worse than Joan Arthur here. And you look at troop buffs for this march, it actually did have better base stats, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it had more attack, a little bit more defense, it was just losing out on a bit of health. And now this is probably what you all were waiting for. Hugh Arthur versus Arthur Achilles, and I am proud to report, Arthur Achilles absolutely wiped the floor with Hugh Arthur, getting a 550 kill point to 430, which is actually crazy. And then you look at the actual stats here, a little bit more defense, a little bit more attack on Hugh Arthur, but all in all, it doesn't matter, as that third ability on Achilles really came in clutch and obliterated this March. Alright, so all in all, since last video where I tested in the campaign, now we actually have some marches to go on, some reports to look at. I'll tell you right now, it performed a lot better than I thought it would. I thought Arthur Primary doesn't really have a lot of defense, and to be fair, it doesn't. But the fact that I can beat out Quinn, the strongest commander in the game, having a total damage factor of like, what, 15k? And it could beat him out, is crazy. I genuinely think that, well, I mean, I have no better way of saying it, so I'm gonna say it like this. Cav is back in the game, baby. I mean, it is just absolutely crazy. And I gotta admit, the whole triangle thing coming back where, you know, finally we have something that can reasonably beat Quinn is nice to see. However, we really gotta wait and see how it does on field, because I don't think a lot of people have gotten there yet. Most people are waiting for the commander drop, which is gonna be mid-November or so. So yeah, focus up for that. And I'll see you guys later. Hope you enjoyed. And before I go, if you have any March recommendations of something else I should try in an AOO match, let me know and I can put it to a test. Maybe make into a short or something. And with that, have a good one.